So hi, I'm Huw Davies. I'm one of the founders and CEO at Ozone API, and I'm really thrilled to be joined by Don Cardinal from FDX. Don, perhaps you can say hello. Tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, and what do you do?
Hey, I'm Don Cardinal. I've been the managing director of Financial Data Exchange ever since we went live in 2018, so coming up on 5 years. We are the open banking technical standard for the US and Canada, and we have members, over 220 members on about 4 continents. And as other stats I'll throw at you, I'm a recovering chartered accountant, so bear with me, audience. We have 53 million users using FDX at present. We'll do a new survey later this month. I'm cautiously hoping for 60 million.
It's amazing, and I guess the reason we're talking today. So, I mean, one of the things that's super clear is open banking, open finance is now global phenomenon sweeping around the world. But with that, actually, we're seeing the complexity increasing. There are different regulatory frameworks. We're seeing more standards emerge and some fragmentation in this space, and that's one of the reasons we set out to create the global open data tracker, just to keep an eye on what's going on. So thank you for offering to talk. And yeah, leading FDX, which is perhaps the most used open banking standard out there. I think you will bring a very, very rich perspective. So I'll perhaps start on just a quick question. I mean, in the FDX journey today, because you've built amazing traction, as you just outlined, what are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of, because we're market driven, there's no regulator making us do this. We've had to stay very focused on the customer and what is the business problem we're solving. And if you recall, back in 2015, 2016, I had board members fighting in the press, and now we're working together. How do we solve this? What do we do for the customer? And because we've built this very transparent, very balanced between data providers and data recipients culture, we've been able to get amazing things done. We went straight to open finance. We skipped open banking, went straight to open finance. Over 660 data elements, including anything that can be scraped. Anything the eye can see, including investments in cryptos, is there. We have fraud reporting. We're building payroll, corporate and treasury. Our members are collaborative because they have a safe space. So I'm most proud that they have that culture of working together.
Yeah, I mean, we've been members for a number of years now, and it's definitely it's a broad group of participants, and it's kind of designed by the industry for the industry. And you mentioned there it's being driven without necessarily a regulatory catalyst, but things are changing in the US right now. Tell us what's happening. What can we expect?
Sure. So Director Chopra of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB, if you don't know it, has said multiple times, okay, we're going to release a proposed rulemaking in October. So here we are in September. So 4 or 5 weeks from now, we'll start to see something. So given what they released in 2017, which is a set of high-level guidelines, the tea leaves that are being read, and again, this is just speculation, it would be more like detailed guidelines. I think they're pleased with how much the market has done voluntarily for tech. And if you look at Director Chopra's June blog post, I think he's happy to let the market continue to develop the tech, the how to do things, and they'll stick with just the policy, what they want to have happen. I think that division of labor, I think, suits them. In Canada, and I do want to mention that because a quarter of our members are Canadian, Abraham Tashian's remit ends in September, and it will end with a report to the Department of Finance in Ottawa. From there, I don't think it'll be a public report, but I believe the high-level concepts and themes will be released to the ecosystem. Say, okay, here's what we want, here's what we're concerned about. And so we definitely have that top of mind as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a huge amount of people waiting in anticipation to see what happens in the US, and also the pace of momentum in Canada. So I guess my last question, so given all of that change, what does this mean for how the FDX standard will continue to evolve over the next say 12 months? What do you predict is coming, or what can you share?
I mean, I think as the spec matures, you already see the number of change items that go into each release is coming down as we become more mature. But I think the biggest thing we're going to see is once Washington and Ottawa kind of speak up, then some of the uncertainty, the regulatory uncertainty goes away. You'll see people who've been maybe sitting on their hands or sitting on the fence, if you will. Well, I don't know. Will finally jump in because now, and it comes down to really funding. Voluntarily, you have this nice to have bucket of money. When it becomes regulatory, that's another bucket of money. So I think the priorities will change once we have more regulatory clarity. And I think that'll be a good thing for everyone.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. So, I mean, we're operating in a lot of markets at the minute where the initial catalyst is banks having to meet some sort of regulation. And then they're very quickly starting to think about, how do I really use these APIs to drive my business and grow revenues and serve my customers better? We almost have the flip scenario, and yeah, it certainly is a catalyst in terms of funding and change. So yeah, we'll be really interested to see what comes.
But I know you guys have been members since, when we started, back when we were, 25, 30 member organizations. Now we're 200. But I am glad that as you've gone to different jurisdictions, you've carried the learnings from, hey, here's what did work and didn't work in America and Canada. And similarly, we've had that cross-pollination. And it's amazing how similar they are. Everyone has REST APIs. Everyone uses JSON object. Everyone's using FAPI for security. It really comes down to payload. And even then, the payloads are so very similar. We're not as far off from a tech standpoint as some people tend to think. And I want to get that misnomer out there. If you're using the British spec or the American spec, it's not really the FDX spec. It's really very, very similar.
Yeah. And we're supporting banks all around the world with various different the required specs for the markets. And yeah, there's far more that's the same than different. There's still complexity out there and some fragmentation, but no, I agree with you. But listen, Don, this has been really interesting. So thank you for spending the time, and yeah, look forward to continuing the conversation as this all takes shape. So thank you.
Cheers.